your lectures, and maybe you people know my name. My name is Dr. Maldhar Hijazi. Okay, and I will deal with the bony pelvis. Okay, now starting with the bony pelvis. First of all, you must know that as we have in the upper region, there is a girdle which is named as the pectoral girdle. Okay, pectoral girdle in which we have the scapula, humerus, and the clavicle. Similarly, in the lower part, in the beginning of the lower limb, we have a girdle which is named as the pelvic girdle, and this pelvic girdle comprises of 3 different bones. This pelvic girdle comprises of 3 different bones. They are named as the hip bone. Okay, anterolaterally is the hip bone. Then in the posterior part we have the sacrum and the coccyx. Hip bone, they are in the form of pair, one on the right side, one on the left side, while the 2 individual bones, they are the sacrum and the coccyx. Okay, now this pelvic bony pelvis, it comprises of 2 parts actually. First part of this, which is also named as the abdominopelvic cavity, that is which accommodate the lower part of the contents of the abdominal cavity as well as the viscera of the pelvic cavity. Okay, this is abdominopelvic cavity. Then we have, this is also named as the false pelvis. Then we have the true pelvis. True pelvis is below the abdominopelvic cavity. It lies between the pelvic inlet and pelvic outlet. Now if you see, this is the pelvic brim, okay, and this pelvic brim, the upper part, it extends, or it is a continuation of the abdomen. If we hold it like this, it is the continuation of the abdominal cavity, because there is no partition between the abdomen and the pelvis. So this part is named as the abdominopelvic cavity. Now as you have a diaphragm over here which separates the thoracic from the abdominal cavity, there you will see there is another diaphragm which separates the pelvic cavity, that is the true pelvis. Below we have the a part which is named as the perineum. Now there are 2 terms used. One is the abdominopelvic cavity or false pelvis, okay, and the second is the true pelvis. Now if you see this part, as I told you before, that it comprises of 2 hip bones, 1 sacrum and 1 coccyx. Okay, now if you see on the differentiation between the true and the false pelvis, there is an area or a ridge which is named as the, you have done the lower limb bones, hip bone, pelvic brim. Okay, pelvic brim, this pelvic brim, if we see from the posterior aspect, the upper border of the first sacral vertebra, this is the sacrum. It comprises of 5 vertebrae which are joined and form a single mass. The upper anterior border of the first sacral vertebra, this is named as the sacral promontory. Sacral promontory. And I am talking about the iliopectineal line. The iliopectineal line starts in the middle from the sacral promontory. This is the sacral promontory, and then it passes laterally over the iliac bone as the iliopectineal line. Iliopectineal line, and centrally in the anterior part we have the, what is these bones? Pubic bones. So the sacral promontory, iliopectineal line, and the upper border of the pubic bone and the pubic symphysis, this ridge which is named as the pelvic brim. Pelvic brim comprises of, again I repeat, sacral promontory, iliopectineal line and the superior border of the pubic bone. This will divide the pelvic cavity into the upper part, which is named as the false pelvis, and the part below is named as the true pelvis. Okay. Now this is the limit, upper limit of the differentiation, you can say, between the false pelvis and the true pelvis. Now if you see in the lower part, you can see the extent of the pelvic cavity. Upper, it is extending up to this line, what is named as the pelvic brim. And below, if you draw a line to join this is the coccyx bone, tip of the coccyx posteriorly, and here we have the ischial tuberosities, and anteriorly we have the pubic arch. This is the pubic arch. Okay, pubic arch. So this part will form a boundary which is named as the pelvic outlet. Pelvic outlet means what? You enter from this room and you can go out from here. This will be the inlet and this is the outlet. Now the structures, like it is basically for the development of the baby, which is initially lying in the abdomen and then it proceeds into the pelvic cavity. Okay, so this part margin, which is named as the pelvic brim, this is the pelvic inlet, and from where the structures comes out, like our genital organs, and then the development, the baby comes out. This is named as the pelvic outlet. Okay, so between the pelvic inlet and the pelvic outlet, this whole area, which is in between my two hands, this is named as the pelvic cavity. Clear? So pelvic cavity is a space which is lying or which is present between the pelvic inlet and the pelvic outlet. Clear? In the pelvic outlet, what we have posteriorly, tip of the coccyx, on each side laterally, ischial tuberosity, and anteriorly we have the pubic arch. It is also named as subpubic arch because it is below the pubic bones. So it is named as the subpubic arch. So in this way you can differentiate that how the upper part of the pelvis is named as the abdominopelvic cavity. Other name is the false pelvis. And from the pelvic brim, this pelvic brim forming the part named as the pelvic inlet, because between the pelvic inlet and the outlet is the pelvic cavity proper. Okay, so this is the named as the entrance or pelvic inlet, and the area between the tuberosities, coccyx bone and the subpubic arch is named as the pubic or pelvic outlet. Clear? Is it okay? So we should know an outline of this, that how the pelvic false pelvis continues with that of the true pelvis, and then the structures comes out through the pelvic outlet. Now if you say what is the shape of this pelvis, you go in the washroom, there is an area where you wash your hand. What is this? This is the wash basin. Okay. Similarly, wash basin, what have? You pour water and water goes out from the pores. So this is basin shape. Similarly, the pelvic cavity, if you see, it is a basin shaped structure or area from where the structures comes, and some of them they comes out. Is it clear? So this is a basin shaped structure which is named as the bony pelvis. Now if you see the functions of this, the function of the bony pelvis is that the abdominal organs plus the pelvic organs, they are hanging down into the pelvic cavity. So this pelvic cavity, they support the lower abdominal organs, plus they also support the pelvic organs. Here we have the pelvic organ and also the lower abdominal organs which enters into the false pelvis. Clear? Now if you see the two hip bones, first we see the just the revision because you already have done the hip bone. They are comprising of three different bones. What are these three bones? One is the iliac bone. Anteriorly we have the pubic bone, and posteriorly we have the ischium. And when you will see embryologically, there is an interrupted line in the acetabulum where the 1, 2 and from above the three bones they unite. So if you hold it in anatomical position, iliac bone, the correct way is when you hold this arch, which we will name later on. This is arch, it goes into the area between the thumb and the index finger like this, and you cover with your finger the acetabulum. So this is in which hand? Left. So this is left sided hip bone. If you hold it like this, you cannot cover the acetabulum. So it is not of right side, it is of left side. Okay. Then this hip bone, if you see, this is the iliac bone. Okay. And this iliac bone or the ilium, it has a superior rough border which is named as the iliac crest. Iliac crest. Iliac crest. And this iliac crest, if you project anteriorly, this is the anterior superior iliac spine, and this is anterior inferior iliac spine. Similarly, posteriorly, the two superior, posterior superior and posterior inferior iliac spine. And this is the, if you hold it anatomical position, this is the outer or the lateral surface, and this is the inner surface or medial surface. As this is producing a slight depression, this is named as the iliac fossa, and there is also the attachment of iliacus muscle. So this is iliac fossa. Now if you see on the posterior part of the medial surface, there is an auricle shaped area. This is the auricular surface of the iliac bone. It articulates with the sacrum and form, this is not of the same bone, like this, it articulates with it and form the sacroiliac joint. Clear? Sacroiliac joint. So this is also an auricular shaped area, auricular surface. Same is over here for the articulation of the sacrum to form the sacroiliac joint. And anteriorly, if you see the pubic bone, this pubic bone has a pubic tubercle, pubic crest, and two rami, superior ramus and inferior ramus up to here. The two rami, superior ramus, inferior ramus, tubercle and pubic crest, and the two pubic bones articulates like this. Anteriorly in the midline, it forms the pubic symphysis. Okay. This acetabulum is for articulation with the head of the femur to form the hip joint, which is a variety of the ball and socket joint. Ball for the head of the femur and socket over the acetabulum. Now posteriorly on this bone you are sitting on this bone actually. This is the ischium bone. Okay? And this rough area is named as ischial tuberosity. If we proceed anteriorly, this is the ramus of the ischium. Ischium has only one ramus, while the pubis has two rami, superior and inferior. Now this is the ischial tuberosity. If we proceed backward, there is a spine-like process. This is named as the ischial spine. Okay. Now this area and below this spine, they are basically the notches, and they are named as the greater sciatic notch and the lesser sciatic notch. I am telling these things because the muscles and the ligaments are going from here and attached. So you must know that this is the greater sciatic notch and the lesser sciatic notch. Now we will see also that there are two ligaments coming from the sacrum. They are named as the sacrotuberous ligament and sacrospinous ligament. Sacrospinous ligament coming from the lateral part of the sacrum and attached over the spine. Okay. Sacrospinous ligament like this, and it divides the notch into a foramen. Similarly, here we have the second ligament which is named as sacrotuberous ligament, and due to the attachment of these two ligaments, this is converted into the greater sciatic foramen. At the moment it is not, but with the attachment of the ligament, they are converted into foramens. So the greater sciatic foramen and lesser sciatic foramen. Clear? This is about the hip bone. Then we have the sacrum. The sacrum has 5 vertebrae, and between the each vertebra there is foramen which is named as the vertebral foramen. 5 sacral vertebrae. Between the 5 there are 4 sacral vertebrae on each side. Okay, 4 sacral vertebrae on, they are named from this surface, they are named anterior sacral foramina, and from the posterior they are named as the posterior sacral foramina. And this is, what is the name of this triangular opening posteriorly? Spinal canal, but in the sacrum they are named as the sacral canal. And how the canal is formed, if you know, the lamina posterior, they unite and form the spine. Okay? In the sacrum, the on the 5th sacral vertebra, and sometimes on the 4th, the lamina posteriorly, they fail to fuse to form the spine, and they left a U-shaped opening. And what is the name of this U-shaped opening? Like this, posteriorly they have a U-shaped opening. This is named as the sacral hiatus. Okay, so posteriorly, usually in most of the sacrum you will see 4th sacral vertebra. Lamina of the 4th sacral vertebra, they fail to fuse and they left a opening, U-shaped opening named as the sacral hiatus. But sometimes 4th sacral vertebra also takes part in the formation of the hiatus. Below the sacrum, so this surface of the sacrum is named as anterior or the pelvic surface, and this is the posterior surface. Okay. And below this you have the coccyx vertebra, and these coccyx vertebra, they are usually 3 to 4 in numbers. Okay, 3 to 4 in numbers, and they are located below the lower end of the sacrum. Yeah, they are located below the sacrum. So this is the outline of these 3 bones, which you must know when you go in the dissection or the mashra'a. And we have done what we have done, symphysis pubis you get to know, sacroiliac joint where they are forming, and the pelvic ring formed by the sacral promontory, iliopectineal line, and the pubic symphysis. Now orientation, if you know what is the position of this pelvis in our anatomical position, when the person is standing in anatomical position, the position of the pelvic cavity is such that the posterior or inner surface of the pubic symphysis, it faces backward and upward. You know the curvature of the vertebral column. Okay, so below, as you come below, it comes like this. Okay, so the orientation and anatomical position, like I am standing, and what will be the position of the pelvis? It will be like the posterior surface of the pubic symphysis. It faces backward and upward. Backward and upward. While the sacrum, it faces forward and downward. This is you must know that this is the anatomical position when the person or the patient is standing in anatomical position. The inner surface faces backward and upward, while the sacrum faces downward and forward. Okay? And we can to know the differences between the falls and the true pelvis. True pelvis is the part of the abdominal region, that is abdominopelvic cavity, above the pelvic brim. And below the pelvic brim up to the outlet, we have the true pelvis. here again you can see these different. This is the pelvic rim. You can see this is, which is forming the boundary between the false pelvis, and below we have the true pelvis. Okay, clear? Now, if you see the differences between the male and the female pelvic, we will do later on. But here you can see, the differences in the cavity here. Here, this is basically the male pelvis. Okay. Now, if you see the female pelvis, you can see the difference. It has more space between the inlet and the outlet, which we will do later on. So this is the differences between the male and the female pelvis, that they have the female pelvis, because female has to go through the process of childbirth. Okay, so they must have a deeper pelvic cavity as compared to the male, between the inlet and the outlet. If you see the boundaries of the false pelvis, the boundaries of the false pelvis, as I said, it is a part of the abdominal, lower part of the abdominal cavity. So the boundaries of the false pelvis, posteriorly we have the lumbar vertebra posteriorly, and on the sides we have the iliac bone with iliac fossa. This is the area of the false pelvis. Behind we have the lumbar vertebra, on the side we have the iliac fossa. Okay, and anteriorly, as you have nothing bone, we have the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall. Lower part of the anterior abdominal wall. So this is the boundary: lumbar vertebra, iliac fossa, and the lower part of anterior abdominal wall. These are the boundaries of the false pelvis. You can see behind the lumbar vertebra, laterally iliac fossa, and as I said, over the fossa we have the attachment of iliacus muscle, and in front by the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall. Function, as I said, that it supports the abdominal contents, and as I shown you the difference between the male and female pelvis. After the 3rd month of pregnancy, in the female, it provides the passage for the, or you can say that it direct the passage of the head of the fetus from the false towards the true pelvis. Okay, and it has also had in the support of the gravid uterus during the period of pregnancy. So it has multiple functions. Then we come to the true pelvis. True pelvis, I already told you that it lies between the inlet and the outlet. What is inlet? Inlet, I already told you, inlet is formed by the pelvic brim, and this pelvic brim has sacral promontory, iliopectineal line, and the border of the pubis. While if you see the outlet, we have told you that we have the two sacral tuberosities, coccyx, and the subpubic arch. Okay, subpubic arch. Now, if you see between these two areas, we have the pelvic cavity. Now, there are walls of the pelvic cavity: anterior wall, posterior wall, lateral walls, and below we have a diaphragm. Like in our abdominal cavity, we have a diaphragm which is named as the pelvic diaphragm. Now, if you see the anterior wall is, what is the anterior wall? Inner surface or the posterior surface of the two pubic bones. This is the anterior wall. Posterior wall, we have the ventral or the pelvic surface of the sacrum and the coccyx. Okay. Laterally, what we have the medial surface of the iliac and the ischial bones. What are these? Now, what is this area? Yes, obturator foramen. Okay, but in the living subject, it is closed by a membrane named as the obturator membrane, and on the outside and inside we have the muscle which are named as the obturator externus and obturator internus. Clear? So if you see from the lateral wall, we have the outermost layer is the obturator internus muscle. This obturator internus muscle, if we see the origin, it is attached to the margins of the foramen, okay, to the margins of this foramen, which is named as the obturator foramen, and where it goes, it will go out of the pelvic cavity through the lesser sciatic foramen. Remember, obturator internus, we are talking of the inner lateral part. Obturator internus originates from the margins of the obturator foramen, plus its fibers also originate from the obturator membrane, and then it goes out of the pelvic cavity through the lesser sciatic foramen, and it is inserted over the greater trochanter of the femur. So it comes out over here. So in the lateral wall we have the obturator internus muscle. Obturator internus is covered by a fascia which is named as the obturator fascia. Okay. So laterally we have the obturator foramen, obturator membrane. Over it we have the obturator internus muscle and the obturator fascia covering. And so this diagram shows you the inner aspect, that is the anterior wall of the two pubic bones plus the pubic symphysis. And this shows the posterior wall, where we have the sacrum with 4 anterior sacral foramina, and you can see we have this is the sacral promontory, upper anterior margin of the first sacral vertebra. Okay. Then over the anterior aspect of the sacrum we have a muscle which is named as the piriformis muscle, and this piriformis muscle, if you see, it surrounds the second, third and part of the fourth sacral foramina, anterior sacral foramina, in the form of a E-shaped origin. Okay, E-shape, and then from its origin this piriformis muscle goes outside, where it will go. We have done the lower limb, not in the upper limb.
The neck of the femur. The neck of the femur. Neck of the femur.
Yes, for the femur, and where?
And the greater.
Okay, then you can see over here, this is the piriformis, where it is going toward the femur over the tip of the greater trochanter, not lesser, tip of the greater trochanter. Okay, this is the piriformis muscle. Clear?
I said
Greater trochanter over the tip, because the obturator internus is also going over there, which is going in the small fossa. Okay, but it is going over the tip. You are right, I am not saying you are wrong, but the exact position you should know. This is the posterior aspect of the sacrum, which shows the spinous process, sacral hiatus, and the 4 posterior sacral foramina, and below we have the coccyx vertebra, which are 4 in number. Now lateral wall, as I have done that, we have the acetabulum from outside, but here we have the obturator foramen. And then we come to the ligaments, which are named, 2 important ligaments which are named as the sacrotuberous and sacrospinous ligament. The sacrotuberous ligament originates from the lateral part of the sacrum, and then it goes like this. Okay? It goes from the sacrum towards the tuberosity. This is named as sacrotuberous ligament. One from the lateral mass of the sacrum goes to the spine. This is named as the sacrospinous ligament. Now in this way, this greater is converted into greater sciatic foramen, and this is converted into the lesser sciatic foramen. So these are the 2 important ligaments. Sacrotuberous ligament is said that it is a stronger lower margin of the sacrotuberous ligament, which also helps in the passage of the fetus outside. It is very strong as compared to the sacrospinous ligament. So the lower inferior margin of the sacrotuberous ligament, it forms the part of the lateral wall of the pelvic cavity. Okay. And after the internals we have done that is originate from the margins and the membrane and goes towards the from the less sciatic foramen over the top or tip of the greater trochanter. These are the features of the hip bone to hip bones. Now this shows the interrupted line, the upper interrupted line. This shows the pelvic inlet. Okay, and if you see the pelvic inlet, as I told you, there is this line. What is this line? Actinial line. And this the diagram, it shows the area from the pubic symphysis to the sacral promontory. This is the inlet, and the outlet is between the two tuberosities or the lower margin of the pubic symphysis to the tip of the coccyx. So this is the inlet and the outlet over here. Pelvic outlet, I already told you that anteriorly we have the pubic arch. On each side laterally we have the tuberosities, ischial tuberosities, and posteriorly we have the coccyx, and posterolaterally, like I told you, the lower or the inferior margin of sacrotuberous ligament. Sacrotuberous ligament. So it is forming the posterolateral wall of the pelvic cavity. If anything which is not clear, you can ask. If I am going fast, you can say repeat it. Okay? Is it clear? If I am going fast, you can ask me to repeat or you again. This diagram again showing the same regions or same part, that is the formation of the greater sciatic foramen and the lesser sciatic foramen over here, and the half part of the pelvic cavity. This diagram shows you as I showed you, the false pelvis is the part of the lower part of the abdominal cavity. That's why it is also named as abdominopelvic cavity. Okay, abdominopelvic cavity. This is the abdominopelvic cavity, and this interrupted line is the inlet line, and below this we have the pelvic cavity. Okay. I already discussed these things that the proper pelvic cavity, it lies between the inlet and the outlet, and its boundaries are the same as we told you. Where anteriorly we have the pubic symphysis, on each side we have the ischial tuberosity, behind we have the sacrum and the coccyx. And this, if you see this, when the fetus from the abdominal cavity, its head enters into the pelvic cavity, this curvature, which is more the curvature of the sacrum, if you see, we will see in the female, it is more as compared what it should be. When we need the large pelvic cavity, what it should be? It should be curved or flat. In the female, this anterior aspect of the sacrum, it is comparatively straight or flat, okay, so that the head of the fetus can pass towards the outlet. But if it is like this, the head can stuck with the lower end of the coccyx or the sacrum or with the coccyx. Okay, so that's why it is less deeper and much flatter in case of female, but in case of male it is more curved. So this is the difference between the posterior surface or of the pelvic cavity or the anterior surface of the sacrum in case of male and the female. This pelvic cavity is also named as the pelvis or the lesser pelvis or the pelvic cavity. These are the three terms usually used for this pelvic cavity. So any word used, you have to know that it is going towards the cavity. Then the important structure which lies inferiorly and which separates now When we take the pelvic cavity, when we see the pelvic cavity, starting from the above, like this is the entrance, which is named as the pelvic inlet. Okay, then you enter into the pelvic cavity proper, where we have the boundaries. There, here we have the tip of the coccyx and the tuberosities on the lateral side. Now, when you are entering from the pelvic inlet, you are coming to a cavity which is named as the pelvic cavity, and this is the outlet. Now, the lower part of the pelvic cavity bears a diaphragm, which is named as the pelvic diaphragm. This pelvic diaphragm, it is present in the lower part of the pelvic cavity to have a small narrow potential cavity below the diaphragm, which is named as the perineum. Perineum is the lower part of the pelvic cavity below the pelvic diaphragm. Clear? Perineum is the lower part of the pelvic cavity below the diaphragm. Now, this pelvic diaphragm, if you see what is this, how this pelvic diaphragm is formed, it is formed by the help of the muscles, and these two muscles are, what are these two muscles? Levator, levator ani muscles, levator ani muscle and coccygeus muscle. Levator ani and coccygeus muscle. Now, these levator and ani muscle, if you see, they are originating first from the inner aspect of the pubic bone, and they passes backward. Okay, from the inner aspect of the pubic bone, if you take this diagram like this, now the levator ani muscle. What there are two? How many parts are there of the levator ani muscle? First of all, the anterior fibers which are coming from the posterior aspect of the pubic bone of both sides, like this. They are named as the, in the male and female they are different. In the male they are named as levator prostati, because in the male it surrounds the prostate gland and supports the pelvic structures. Okay, so this is named as the anterior fiber. There are three types of fibers of levator ani muscle. Anterior fiber we are talking of. What is this? Levator prostati in case of male, but in case of female it is named as levator or sphincter vaginae. Sphincter vaginae, because when it constricts, it close the or constrict the vaginal opening. Because in case of females, when there is baby in the uterus, this sphincter vaginae holds in supporting the structure, that's the baby in the uterus. Because if it is weak, there in the initial stages of the formation of the baby, it can slip out from the vaginal cavity externally, which is named as the abortion. So this condition or this muscle, which is named as sphincter vagina in case of female and levator prostati in case of male. These are the anterior fibers. They are originating from the posterior aspect of the pubic bones and passes backward towards the midline. Now where they are inserted? They are inserted on the midline to form or over a body which is named as the perineal body. Perineal body is a fibrous tissue over which the anterior fibers of the levator ani muscle is attached. This is the anterior fibers, and the name is different. In male it is levator prostati. In case of female it is named as sphincter vagina. Clear? Then we have the intermediate fiber. Sphincter vagina. What is the other name of sphincter vagina? Intermediate fibers. It is written puborectalis. It is again coming and on the inner aspect of the pubic bones. Yes. Clear? So what is present? Now in the middle we have the opening of the anal canal. That is, now this intermediate fiber, they are named as the puborectalis. That is coming from the inner aspect of the pubic bones. They passes backward and they surrounds the junction of the rectum with anal canal like this. Okay? Is it clear? The fibers are coming from both sides, from the right as well as from the left side, and they surround the junction of the rectum with anal canal. These intermediate fibers, they are named as the puborectalis. Puborectalis. Okay. Then we have the posterior fiber. The posterior fibers. Posterior fiber. What we have now behind. What we have behind is now these fibers. Posterior fibers. Now behind the rectum there is another fibrous mass which is named as the anococcygeal body. Anterior to this rectum we have the perineal body, and posterior to this we have body which is named as the anococcygeal body. This is the anococcygeal body. This is the area. Okay. So the posterior fibers, which are named as pubococcygeus, they are inserted over the what is this? Anococcygeal body. So again I repeat, the anterior fibers, they are passing backward, okay, and their name is different in case of male and female. In case of male, it is named as the levator prostati because it supports the prostate gland in male. In female, it is named as sphincter vaginae because it surrounds or act as a sphincter for the vagina. Then, where they are inserted? They are inserted into the perineal body. Behind this perineal body, we have the opening of the anus, and the middle fibers or intermediate fibers, which are named as puborectalis, they are passing backward and surround the junction of the rectum with anal canal. They are named as puborectalis. Okay. Then the posterior fibers, which are named as iliococcygeus. Iliococcygeus, they are coming from the rest of the iliac bone, and they are passing towards the midline to be inserted over the anococcygeal body. Anococcygeal body, they are named as the iliococcygeus, plus they are also inserted at the tip of the coccyx vertebra. Okay, so this is the how now this partition is formed. This is named as pelvic diaphragm, and you can say there is the anterior, it has a defect or opening. This defect or opening allows the genitals organs to come out, okay, below the pubic arch. Now, but in case of females, when there is the time of the delivery of the baby, what happens that due to the secretions of the certain hormones, endocrine secretions, this perineal body plus these muscles, they relax. They relax, and this passage is increased in size so that the whole of the baby, so think about it, the whole of the baby can pass out to the external environment by this opening or passage. Okay, so this God has given this anterior opening or the passage for in the male for the genital organ, and in the female along with the genital organ there is the passage of the baby from this opening, and then after the delivery all the muscle they becomes again constricted and comes to their normal position. This shows the ileum inlet and the outlet. Now sex differences, I already told you what are the sex differences in case of male and the female. Inlet is nearly both same in both the having wide space, but it is more oval in case of female as compared to that of the male. Pelvic cavity, as I told you, pelvic cavity is more roomier, that is it has more space in case of female as compared to that of the male. Outlet is larger. Now outlet is larger in case of female. Again the same reason for the passage of the baby. How it becomes large? As I said, one thing that the sacrum is straighter, okay, and flat. Second thing is that these, what is this? These are the ischial tuberosities plus the ischial spine. They are everted. They are everted in case of male or female as compared to that of the male. That is so that it allows a large space for the passage of the baby. Okay? But in case of male, the distance, which I have a chart, the distance between the spines is less as compared to the female. The distance between the two ischial tuberosities, it is more in female than male. And the next thing is this area. What is this? Pubic guard or subpubic guard. This pubic or subpubic guard, it is much wider in case of female and much angular in case of male. That is, this angle between the two pubic rami, in case of male it is 60 to 90 degree. 60 to 90 degree, but in case of female it is wider, it range from 90 to 120 degree. 90 to 120 degree, so that it becomes separated. That's what I said. The tuberosities and the spine, they are everted. That is, they are separated from the center so that the baby can pass easily. So these are the differences between the male and the female pelvis. Commonest pelvis, which has the feature which I described, which is named as the gynecoid pelvis. And then next I will give the first diagram. This is the gynecoid pelvis. This is the commonest pelvis in fertile females, which has vagina, which gives vaginal delivery. Okay, vaginal delivery, that is the normal delivery through the vagina. Other way of deliveries are the surgical, where we do the surgery, open the uterus and remove the baby. Because when the pelvis is either of male type or this anthropoid type or the palatipaloid type. These are the different types of pelvic outlets actually, which are common, which are not common in females, which gives vaginal delivery. Remember, vaginal delivery female, they have this type of gynecoid.
So it's change with the time or what?
No, it does not change with the time. It depends on the females which are coming through different localities. Okay, or there may be the genetic transfer of the shape of the pelvis from the mother to the daughter, or there is the conditions like malnutrition or those females which do their labor work too much. The pelvis shape changes, but the normal female pelvis for the vaginal delivery is of gynecoid type. 41% of the females, they have gynecoid type of pelvis or the pelvic outlet. Same feature, the pelvis is shallow and the bone are smoother than the male. Size of the pelvic inlet more same male female. Cavity is larger and cylindrical, and the pelvic outlet it is wider in these female as compared to that of the. And when they are everted, when you take the measurement, transverse and the anterior posterior, it will be more because it is flatter, it is everted. So transverse as well as anterior posterior measurement, they are more in case of the gynecoid type of pelvis. This interrupted line or with the arrow, this shows basically the axis of the pelvis, how the baby come and it does not pass straight, it enters like this and then it passes. Understand? So this is the axis. We are standing, our body axis is vertical. Okay, but when the baby is passing through the pelvis, this is the basic interrupted line showing the axis of the pelvic cavity or the passage of fetus. It comes like this and then it passes. So this is the axis of the pelvic cavity. Okay. Now there are two conditions which are named as sacralization and lumbarization. If you remember, what is sacralization? It is written here. Sacralization, the fifth lumbar vertebra, it is incompletely fused with the first sacral vertebra. That's why its resemblance with the sacral is named as the sacralization of the fifth lumbar vertebra. Okay? And there is another condition which is named as lumbarization of first sacral vertebra. The first sacral vertebra, you will see in some bone, it will not be completely fused with the second. It is seen to be part of the lumbar vertebra. So this will be named as the lumbarization of first sacral vertebra. So there are two terms, remember, sacralization of the lumbar vertebra and lumbarization of the first sacral vertebra. Clear?
Doctor, sacralization, with lumbar vertebra or the sacral?
In sacralization, the fifth lumbar vertebra is seen to be fused with the first sacral vertebra. What sacralization means? It is going towards the similarity to the sacrum. Okay? What lumbarization means? It is going to be similar to the lumbar vertebra. So in sacralization is the, you can say, abnormality of the fifth lumbar vertebra. Lumbarization is the abnormality of the first sacral vertebra. Clear? And the same angles, the pubic angles, male and female, there are differences between the two. Now this diagram, you can see the first part showing this part showing the axis of the passage of the fetus or the birth canal. This is also named as the birth canal. Now there is the measurement of the which the gynecologists usually do, the measurement of the pelvic cavity in the early or the middle months of the pregnancy, when they think that the baby cannot pass from the birth canal, so they measure, and this measurement from the lower margin of the pubic arch posteriorly to the sacral promontory. This is named as the diagonal conjugate, and then after that measure the distance between the two. If it is normal, then it is possible for the passage of the fetus. But if this is narrow, the head can stuck over here, then the gynecologist usually perform the surgery. So in order to prevent the life of the baby. And this lower part of the diagram, it shows the transverse diameter between the two ischias tuberosity. They usually use this area, the four fingers. Okay? By using these four fingers, they usually measure the transverse diameter. Now this is how, yes.
Director, could you get from symphysis pubis to
From the lower margin of the symphysis pubis, okay, to the sacral promontory, this area. Okay. From the lower margin of symphysis pubis to the sacral promontory. This area is named promontory. As I said, sacral promontory is what? What is sacral promontory? You are somewhere else. It is the anterior and the upper margin of the first sacral vertebra. Then you have the whole pelvic formation of pelvic. Okay. So then now if you see the baby, it is coming first where it is entering. You can see its face is not backward or forward. It is towards the right side or towards the left side. Why? Its anterior-posterior diameter is more as compared to transverse diameter. Our also, we have more anterior-posterior diameter as compared to transverse diameter. So the first the baby, when it enters into the pelvic inlet, it has its face towards the right or towards the left side, so that its anterior-posterior diameter lies along the transverse diameter. Clear? Then you can see in second part, then it changes position towards the face towards the posterior side, and finally it comes out. According to the diameters of the pelvis, the God guides the baby to change its position. If suppose unfortunately the baby does not change its position, then there are chances of stuck. Baby can stuck, then emergency, and the surgery has to perform to make it out from the uterus. Okay. This is the when you take this slide, you can see the measurements between the different the measurements between the two spines, scale spine, the measurement between the two scale tuberosities, and the anterior-posterior. As I told you, the conjugate, diagonal conjugate between the lower margin to the sacral promontory. Then there is another measurement between the lower margin to the coccyx. Different measurements are there. The gynecologist usually uses to see the capacity of the pelvic cavity, so that the baby does not have any problem while passing through the birth canal. Yes, any question? It is all for two things, the bony pelvis and the pelvic diaphragm. If you have any question. Endometrial body of the perineal body is a fibrous tissue. Fibrous tissue. Yes, there are three muscles. First muscle in the pelvic diaphragm is the anterior fiber, which are named as the sphincter vagina in female and elevator prostatic in male. Okay, it is inserting over the perineal body. And the second type of middle fibers, they are named as behind the perineal body. Now we have a opening of the anal canal. The fibers which are coming from the middle, from the pelvic bone, they surround the junction of the rectum with anal canal to act as a sphincter. Okay, to act as a sphincter, this is named as the puborectalis muscle. Third type of fiber which passes posteriorly behind the rectum, there is another fibrous tissue named as anococcygeal body, and they are inserted over it, which are named as iliococcygeus, from the iliac bone and the coccyx, and inserted over the anococcygeal body. Pubum is coming from the pupil. Pubococcygeus is coming from the pubic bone. Why it is named as coccygeus? Because it has some of the fibers from the coccygeus. Okay. Well, yes, anterior they are named as the pubococcygeus. Yes, pubococcygeus. You see where it is going. Now, this is the pubococcygeus. Okay. This is coming from the pubic bone, and you can see it passes over the anococcygeal body. This is the part of the posterior type of fibers. Yes. Second is the intermediate coming from the pubic bone and inserted into the midline around the junction of the rectum and middle finger. Four types. Chart. Please. Four type of pelvis. In palatopelloid, which means you can see it has more transverse diameter but less anterior-posterior diameter. It has more transverse and less anterior-posterior, which is not good. If you see the gynocoid, it has transverse as well as anterior-posterior diameter. In the android, this is basically male type, android. It has more anterior-posterior but no transverse diameter. In the fourth type, again, it is oval shape, but it has again the more anterior-posterior but less transverse diameter, so the head cannot pass. So ideal is the gynocoid type, which has nearly equal transverse as well as the anterior-posterior diameter. First one, the gynocoid. Gynocoid, 41% of the female, they have gynocoid type of pelvis. This one. This is the gynocoid type of outlet, which is common. So this type of question can come, which is the commonest type of pelvic outlet in female, which is the gynocoid. Diagonal conjugate is basically, diagonal is the geometrical term. It's a geometrical term. And it is taken between, it is taken the distance between the lower margin, as you see in this diagram, the lower margin of the pubic arch, and posteriorly the finger is going where? To the sacral promontory. Between this middle finger and here, you will measure this distance. This is named as diagonal conjugation. Okay? Yes. Yes. Sacral promontory. Sacral promontory. These are the, we have vertebral column, okay? 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar and 5 sacral. They are separate here, but in the sacrum they are fused and are single mass. Now the upper margin, upper and anterior margin of first sacral vertebra. It is, because it is more sharp in some vertebra, this is named as sacral promontory. Promontory comes from the prominent. Okay? So this is prominent, and as it is a part of the sacrum, it is named as sacral promontory. Okay? Yes, any other question? Levator ani, and yes, one thing left, remember, in the posterior part, thank you very much, in the posterior part there is another muscle which is named in the pelvic diaphragm. Listen, we talked about the pelvic diaphragm, we left one muscle. We have first large muscle is the levator ani. It has 3 parts, anterior fibers, middle fibers and posterior fibers. Now behind the posterior fiber there is another triangular muscle which is named as coccygeus muscle. This coccygeal muscle tip is attached, you can say originate from the spine of the ischium, and the fibers goes towards the midline to be inserted over the coccyx and some part of the sacrum laterally, like this. They are originating from the spine and they are passing over here like this. So this is the triangular muscle. Apex is attached to the, or you can say originate from the spine and then passing medially to be attached to the lower part of the sacrum and the coccyx vertebra. This is also a part of the pelvic diaphragm. So in the pelvic diaphragm, we have two muscles, levator ani muscle and the coccygeus muscle. Nerve supply is the perineal branch of S4 and the pudendal nerve which supplies the pelvic diaphragm. So coccygeal muscle is also a part of the pelvic diaphragm. Remember, if you have been asked what are the muscles taking part in the formation of pelvic diaphragm, these are the levator ani muscle and coccygeus muscle. Anteriorly there is a defect or opening for the passage of the genital organs in both sexes, plus in female this allows for the passage of the baby come outside. Yes, good, thank you. Any other question? Yes. Any question? Clear or not? Should be clear, because when you will go in the lab, don't waste much of your time. Remember, just the practical will be of 10 minutes. Just give 10 minutes and leave the lab. Go there and show him, whoever doctor is there, that what are the parts of the iliac, sacrum and the coccyx, and how the pelvic inlet is formed, how the pelvic outlet is formed, and out sacrum you have the attachment. Clearly you have the attachment of piriformis, okay, and it will show him that how the pelvic cavity is formed. Just 10 minutes practical. Don't waste much of your time because you are in the end. So whatever you learn, I think you can explain there and go to your. That will be enough. So prevent your time from the practical, because there is a lot of time of wastage there. There is a lot of time. Save your time and read. Okay? Any other clear?